Hi, 5th graders. Welcome back to Fantasy Writing Session 8. Today we'll be looking at how to incorporate flashbacks as an element in our story. I'm guessing at this point you have seen flashbacks in narrative writing throughout the school year, or maybe even in 4th grade narrative writing. Today we are going to take a look at this Ratatouille flashback example and also watch my video, and then you're going to be revising your own stories to add flashbacks in as well. Looking back, here is a personal connection. Something my dad always says to me is, you never know where you're going unless you know where you have been. I think this statement rings true a lot. Often you can look back at how you acted in the past and learn from it, or simply smile at some past memory. So looking back at the past helps us to understand where we are now and also where we're going in the future. So this can be a useful tool to use in our writing. Writers use flashbacks or dreams. They are commonly used in fantasy to give the history of a quest, an object, or a mythical beast. So in fantasy writing, we often have objects, goals or quests, or some sort of creature that needs to be explained. What is the history behind this object? This is where flashbacks can become very useful. Using a flashback can take you back into the past to explain to your reader where the origin of this object is, this beast, or maybe why you're on this quest as well. Often in fantasy, the importance of an object, ceremony, beast, or quest has a history that needs to be explored. Whether it is an entire scene that is a flashback or simply a few sentences, it's important to include this element into your writing. By adding a flashback, a writer adds depth to their story. So again, adding that flashback adds a layer of depth and a dimension to your story as well. Successful writers can't just tell their reader there is a history to an object, but rather show them the history. So remember, we're trying to focus on showing our reader rather than just telling them. For instance, this magical treasure chest comes from the island of Valencia. Instead of telling them that, take them back in history throughout maybe a chapter or a paragraph in your story and pretend you're in the past, living in the past, and show them what was happening around this magical object. A flashback or a dream is an ideal tool to add a foundation to your quest, object, or creature. Think of an important element of your story. Maybe it's a magical element. I would suggest using one of your magical elements. How could you incorporate a flashback to add depth to your story? You're going to go back to that part of your story where you talk about this magical element, and you're going to add a flashback into your story. So again, this could be a few sentences, it could be a paragraph, it could be an entire chapter that is set in the past, and it's a reflection of what happened as the origin of this element or the background for this element, which will give your reader some idea as to why this element is so key and important in your story. So it might be a good idea to do this in the beginning of your story, because this is likely when you introduced this magical element. Then you're going to share your revisions with your teacher by highlighting it. Again, use the highlighting tool, show us where the flashback is, and then attach those Google Slides to this assignment so that we can see where you added in a flashback. Okay, let us know if you have any questions. That's it for today.